Greetings and welcome to RPMMORadio. This will be our 7th episode on this unfortunate, extremely, very stormy night where we are. So if we suddenly disappear on the live stream, I apologize in advance. Unfortunately, my weather device to control it is yet functional. So we just do what we do. But we'll have a good episode tonight for you. Hopefully we're going to be doing Were-Vampires and how to play them, how to role play as specialty characters. We just use Were-Vampires as a sort of catch-all because doing one or the other is basically all the same. And as you heard, with me as always is Jazz.
Howdy, howdy.
And my waifu for lifeu, Sib.
Hello.
If we sound tired and get a little crazy, it's our daughter's prom night. We have been cooking food and doing hair and makeup, and there's been relatives and lots of people in our house because their friends' parents were here, friends of friends, nieces, all that stuff. It's been crazy, but they're gonna have a lot of fun. And we're still here even with that for you because that's just the kind of crazy commitment we have to you weirdos. I don't know what's wrong with any of you. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off with our usual way, which is what have we been playing and role-playing on, and any stories we might have. And I'm going to kick this one off too this time because I usually let the girls go. But my favorite thing so far is I'm at an old guild playing ESO from over 3 years ago, the Servants of the Temple. And it's crazy that after 3 years that they are still going actually stronger now than they were back then, which does not happen in a lot of roleplay guilds, as Jazz definitely knows, having one of the really long ones herself. And the other thing too was also in ESO, and Jazz and Sib both know the same person, and it's actually kind of correlates more with Sib because she's the one that first actually came across him as someone we used to know in Star Wars: The Old Republic. Briefly,
which is bizarre.
Yeah, we've how long was it since we've all talked to him? Probably it's got to be like
years at least.
Yeah, 2 years, give or take. And yeah, him and Sim have been hitting it off, and I mean, not not that kind of hitting off, but like chatting as normal adults do, because not everything has to be around sex.
We've been catching up.
Yeah,
basically.
but catching up. But which is ironic, too, because she's always complaining that I can't find anybody that just wants to, like, talk to a woman without, putting, like, a finger in another two fingers like it's a hole. Yeah. So it's been good.
It's a serious problem. Yeah.
It is a serious problem. At first, everyone complained that there were no women on the internet, and now I constantly wonder, why are there women on the internet? They're better than this. They deserve better. But no, that's pretty much what all I had. I actually joined that guild. They're very active. I actually created a character to kind of do it. They're very they're very temple centric, religious centric for the 3, which is in Elder Scrolls. With Vivek and, I don't know, the other 2 losers that nobody cares about. Vivek's the cool one, even though he's genderless and split down the middle. Like a really, kind of like a mascot for an NFL team, now that I think about it. But they're a lot of fun. They've been very enjoyable. It's just neat to catch up with people you hadn't, like anything, met in years. Mm-hmm. So that's what I've been doing. What about one of you ladies?
Jess, you want to go first or you want me to
go? You go. Okay.
We have a consensus, ladies and gentlemen. You heard that here. Live, 2 women actually agreed and one let the other go ahead. And there's no animosity towards either.
No, like Ashton said, I've been just RPing and ESO, leveling, just basically hanging out. I haven't had a lot of in-game time because of real life stuff, but like you said,
she made a prom dress like from scratch. She's idiotically talented.
Idiotic is the keyword. But no, I did meet that old friend, and I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know how he'd feel about it, but it was cool to actually sit up.
He was Darth in Star Wars, at least. I think we can say that. He was Darth
Yeah, and he's
male
ignored,
goth. Yeah.
so,
And
but to just
he
come
likes the
across
big
him, it
guys.
was kind of neat. I mean, because the name had stuck with. I'm really good with names. My job.
Yeah.
But no, it just kind of stuck with me, and I kept thinking, I know him from somewhere. And we had actually RP'd in the the withered tree in ESO, and it's like, I feel like I know you, and just next thing you know, yeah. So that's about it. I RP'd a little last night in the tavern, just kind of hung out and watched RP and met a couple people. Not much going on.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy, yeah, and it's crazy to meet someone. So how about you, Jazz? What have you been... I know at least you had something last night for sure, but I know you do more than like one night in every 2 weeks.
We've been working on our werewolf RP. So what we did last night, we had a big werewolf clan meeting, sort of a thing, pick a name and RP with each other. Hopefully more will eventually join us, so that was kind of fun. I'm very new to the werewolf side of things, but I played a weird demon thing for 10 years, so it's not unusual for me to play weird creatures. Also, I've been dealing with a lot of real life stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and for insurance purposes, we're not allowed to speak about that.
What?
Your
real life?
Stuff. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not that I mentioned that maybe you should burn your house down, but I'm just saying for insurance purposes, where I've never said such a thing, nor I think the words you used were shut up, you idiot, shut up. Yeah, so we have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I have house issues, and I'm trying to deal with finances and jobs, and I work 2 jobs, and I'm tired a lot, so...
Adulting sucks for those that aren't aware. That's
really
why we do this.
Adulting really sucks.
I log in at night and I roleplay in Riften, in ESO, at the Wither Tree.
God, I hate the name of that town, by the way, just because every time I hear it, I think of Rift. I hear Rift, which is an entirely different game. Just my own mental block. It's like, we're going to be in Riften. I don't want to play that game anymore.
It's actually the Rift.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
even worse. The town is Riften, but the place is called the Rift. It's like...
And the first time I heard it, I thought they were talking about the game.
Right.
Who did I?
Oh my god, so, okay, who wore it better, Riften or the Rift? Just speak amongst yourselves. Personally, I think Riften wore it better because the Rift got boring.
Anyway, dealing with life and then dealing in roleplay and relaxing a bit has been fun, and we had a little bit of guild drama a couple weeks ago, and I'm still kind of getting over that, so it's just been
fun.
Yeah, one of those things that just makes you very, very tired sometimes while you deal with it, but worth it.
I just gotta say, you are a way better woman than I am, Jess.
Me too.
I would just be like, drop the mic and walk away.
It's tempting, but I've been doing this a long time, and so when it gets like that, you just have to kind of roll with it. And I took a day. I didn't even log in for like a day and a half. I just did other things and calmed down and
did something relaxing, like work on a website.
Yes. I went and I got my I have a... I don't want to say it here.
Plug it. Just plug it. You're a friend and you're on the show. Just do it. It's a cheap plug. All the people, the millions of people listening right now, it's just free advertising. We'll cut. I'll tell you what. We'll cut the $20,000 advertisement fee off for you because I guess you're part of the show. So go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Fair enough. Anyway,
pitch.
I have a business called Deep Roots Inc. And I'm hoping to have like an artist colony, artist guild in my general local area. So I worked on the webpage and I got everything kind of set up for all of that during my get over the drama break for 2 days. I was very proud of myself because I've been putting it off.
Yep.
And also fixed the 2 sites that we have for our guild and for Shadows and Dreams. And got it a little smoother to run and fixed a couple of boo-boos that I had been putting off dealing with. Like one of the things that I do and I enjoy doing is making tags and things.
And forums. She loves making forums and subforums. She's excellent at it. Nobody makes a subforum like Jazz.
I'm great at forums, but I'm also really good at making like banners and tags and SIG and stuff, and I really enjoy it. It's one of those things that I do. That's why when I went to college and I took my degree in design, I almost went into graphic design, but I decided if I did that, I'd end up hating the one thing that I absolutely love to do. Mm-hmm. So I didn't do it.
Yeah, probably not a bad idea. Yeah, and those for you who are listening for the first time, if you haven't noticed, Jazz is a sadist. Yeah, she actually works on websites as a way to relax.
Masochist? I think it would be more masochist.
I'm going to say sadist because that is the tool of the devil.
I see. Because you're like Wolf and a couple of others that hate web pages. Yes. Well.
Yeah, but
I like visiting them.
I just
hate making them.
To do work. I mean, I like something you enjoy. I mean, writing. Yeah. It's really relaxing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Like hitting yourself in the nuts with a tack hammer. It just feels good after a while. I mean, you just go numb on the inside and you move on from there.
Yeah. Can we move on now? I think.
Well, now we're moving on. Sure. Well, I guess if you want to. Apparently, that's all it takes. Tack hammer to the balls. But all right, so that's pretty much what we've been doing here. Haven't been doing a whole lot else other than ESO's pretty much been our go-to MMOs for last month or so, thanks to the two ladies. Thanks a lot for dragging my ass into that.
You're welcome.
You know you're enjoying
I will say, though, the benchmark for Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion was pretty cool and looked pretty damn good on my computer. It looked pretty sweet, but I figured it would run real well, so I got a good computer, which is why we can do the show. You're welcome. So let's move on to news. We'll forgive Sib because she's been doing mom stuff, and mom stuff always trumps silly podcast stuff and silly roleplay stuff. Because let's be honest, it's just for fun, and real life always comes first. Blah blah blah. Oh, I want to spend time with my family. My daughter only graduates and does the prom once. Whatever. Got a show to do here. Act professional. But anyway, so we usually do a news story, something MMO related or RP related, and I, of course, picked one that is near and dear to my heart and is really cool. It's actually an entire new sort of MMO. It's called an MMORPG, massively multiplayer online augmented reality game, which is basically what the new Disney World Orlando's Star Wars land is going to be. Both parks are getting their own Star Wars sort of redo and getting their own Star Wars land. But the way they're structuring them is that it's going to be on an entirely new planet. This whole area, you know, if you've never been to a Disneyland or a Disney World, the park is broken up into different sections. You know, there's Tomorrowland, which was the future section, and then there's the Main Street, which is old school America, where a lot of the older rides were, and then they've got Adventureland and Frontierland and all this. So the Star Wars one is obviously going to be based on Star Trek. Or Star Wars, whatever.
Star Trek.
I just like pissing off people like myself. So it's going to be a whole brand new world, and what it's supposed to be like is basically that when you go in there, just like an MMO, you almost can choose a faction. You might actually get to be a smuggler or work for the Resistance, because it'll be in the Force Awakens era, the new trilogy timeline, or you can join the what's the other ones, the First Order, and you can basically they almost give you little quests. Like, so if you do that, that's pretty much what your faction will be for your trip that time. And that's what it is. You'll get to fly the Millennium Falcon, and supposedly it's not like Star Tours. With anybody that went to Star Tours, it was an awesome ride, fantastic. It made you really feel like you were in a ship. But this one, apparently, you'll get to control the Millennium Falcon and actually fly it. And what supposedly how this is supposed to work is what one person does in the Falcon will transfer over to the next people that jump into that same cockpit, and they'll basically continue the story from there. So it's just a really cool sort of real world MMO thing. It's and you're gonna be it's a role play in its own way. It's just real life. That's what Disney's always been about. and I'm not always the biggest fan of Disney, but they are really, really, there's one thing those Imagineers are good at, those parks. It is always, testing and changing the limits of what is known and what's, what you can do in a park like that. I just think it's super cool. I can't wait I want to go back, but we're going to have to, obviously we have to wait till this scrap is done, which I don't think is until 2019, probably late at that. So, it'll only be on like the 18th movie by then, but still. I'm just super excited to see that. I think it's a really cool mixing of immersion and that interactive, like those escape rooms that people are so excited about, which I would still love to do one of those. We have one here in Tulsa where we're at, and haven't never actually gotten around to it because it's one of those things where you're local. Oh yeah, we can do that anytime, and then by the time you get around to it, oh, they closed. So
also, we're lazy.
Yeah, and we're lazy. Yeah,
we're
too busy role playing and stupid MMOs.
We want to play games.
Let's see. We want to sit in our butt all night for the next 4 hours, or go outside with friends. My butt's good. Yeah, I'm good with my butt. So, all right. So, Jazz, you've got 2 stories lined up. Why don't you knock them down, hon?
Okay, well, the first one that I looked at, both of them are on massivelyoP.com. The first one was, what's the most fun you ever had in an MMO tavern? And while most of the responses to this little blip were horrible, some of them, most of them were kind of funny. And it gives you an idea of what people think of as RP and what people enjoyed as RP at the time. And a lot of people have talked about like SWG and Lotros. You see a lot of the older games where RP was the focus. Because most games don't. They look down their noses at RP and they don't support it. And so there's not
Pantheon.
as much of it. Yeah, like Pantheon, which just irritates the crap out of me. But anyway, how to take a great game that I was looking forward to and completely change my mind. Congratulations.
And how to do that in a single interview.
Yes. How to
we
do
think
that
role players are silly
interview.
And should be burned at the stake. Anyway, here's other stuff.
Yeah. It's like, right. Okay. So that was fun for me to read because some of the best RP I've ever had has been in taverns, in games. But of course, I've had a lot of fun in real taverns in real life. So I think it's you either like it or you don't. But some of the best RP I've ever had started in taverns.
Mm-hmm. So that's always a good meeting place. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a place to meet, bump into other RPers. It's central. People will show up, and it's a lot of fun.
Ding dong. Who is it? Beer man. Wow. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I read it between the lines. I get you. It's all about that ERP.
How can you take everything we say and turn it?
Turn it dirty? Well,
sheer talent.
It is a God-given gift. It's a cross I unfortunately just have to learn to bear. It's just my lot in life.
Now. You can stop.
I should also mention too, my story was also from Massively OP from I actually think I saw that the day after it came out, like on the Monday after our last show, and I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing 2 weeks from now. Click save. So yes,
okay.
Give them a shout out to Massively OP. So what's your other one, Jess?
Yeah.
So the other one that I looked at was sadly about my former favorite game ever, and it's sad and slow drain down into
womp,
the doldrums of the dump. EverQuest 2 delays the menagerie and grants 3 times experience all weekend.
Wow. I actually just read your title on that. I've purposely, just to be surprised about what you're going to report on. That is insane. 3 times experience event. I don't think I've ever heard of something like that before.
300%. I can't even imagine.
Wow, that's crazy.
All my remaining characters would be 100 at the end of that.
So what is the menagerie their next expansion?
I'm assuming so, but since I've been out of the loop.
Yeah.
I mean, they just had one.
It
was absolutely horrible. It was such a disaster. I can't believe they're having another one already. But
quick, patch it.
This is like a game that I loved, and I had every single expansion since 2005.
It was your first MMO, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's what. See, you got beer goggles on. That first MMO
Yeah.
beer goggle. See, mine was EverQuest 1, so 2 was not that far behind for me. Is the same way as Star Wars Galaxies.
And I absolutely love this game, and it just broke my heart that the devs slowly just destroyed it with purpose. It's just, and I'm reading this.
Tentful. You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's those damn Russians, Columbus Nova. That's what it is. It's Russia. It's a Russia. It is literally a Russian-owned company. It is.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Did you not know that? Yeah.
No.
The subsidiary, the owner of Daybreak Games, is a company from Russia called oh my jeez! I just said it like 5 seconds ago, and now I gone smart. Jenny. Columbus Nova, and they're Russian-owned. Yeah. So it is.
I'm okay now.
It's the damn Ruskies. That's what it is.
Oh,
it is
that
communist.
explains everything.
Communism is on the rise in EverQuest 2.
Well, then no wonder there were so many Russian people. I wondered.
Oh, why all the
There were Russian people
Yeah.
playing it, and they would go off sometimes, and because they have the Cyrillics like on their keyboard, and they would type it out, and I'd be like, I remember when I was just running
That's
around
not
the
real
world,
language. Why is your K backwards?
and I stopped and I backed up so that I could hear it, read it, and I was like, that's because I learned Russian in college, and I was like, that's Russian. What? Wow. Okay, and I just kept going, but that's funny because I had never seen a Russian before. Just before I left, the Russian language in EQ. But anyway,
In Soviet Russia, EverQuest plays you. But apparently, it's too. Was it Sapmaster Flash in our chat? He said that's normal cash shop level XP bonus too at the 300 times. But that's have to. But that's the thing. You have to pay for that, and that's one thing. I know you can reach. Like with the scrolls and stuff, we know you could actually reach that, but to just have that given to you, and then on top of that, I guarantee you, because you could always we did this when they would do 2 times experience, then you use an experience scroll on top of that, so at 3 times, and then 3 times on top of that, it's just.
Well, that's why I said
crazy.
I would have gotten every character I had to 100.
Yeah.
On that in a very short order. It's easy to do if you know where to go and you know where to grind.
Yeah.
And obviously, I played the game so long, I knew exactly where to go. So it was, to me, reading this is like, this is the death of the game, slowly.
Yeah.
Surely. It's just sad. I'm to the point. I'm gonna delete this game off my hard drive, and it just was like, I expected to feel bad about it, and I'm just like, no, I'm really kind of done.
You're where I was after when I canceled my subscription. It killed me, but it just had to happen. But I've gone into that plenty enough. It's if you want to know more, please listen to past episodes of RPMMORadio at rpmmoradio.com.
Yeah, so we're told. But anyway, it popped out at me when I was reading it, and I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I will have to look and see what the menagerie is, but it sounds like that's probably a whole crap. We really screwed up and we're losing a lot of subs. Quick, do something.
Yeah, because the thing that the XP that they had previous, which I don't even remember the name of it, was that bad. I was going to get it, and then I started hearing all the bitching coming in about it, and I was like, you know what? Never mind.
Yeah, it's a great place to roleplay, like a lot of MMOs are, and it's unfortunate so many developers is the best since Star Wars Galaxies.
There's nothing like it on the market. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Although ESO's trying, and I give them credit for trying.
They're in the it's the same. EverQuest 2, when it first came out too, the housing, it wasn't that great. It just got that way over time because they get more items. Like they have some nice. I've seen people build structures out of the the wide wooden planks in ESO, but they're kind of garbage looking. So when they start doing those things, but it looks like a fine marble or a stone, they'll be slowly inching that way because it does give you a lot of personal control.
It's amazing, and I'm really pleased with the housing in ESO. EQ was unrivaled, and now of course they have 2 devs and 1 hamster, so it's not like
sorry, but they laid the hamster off.
Oh, that
budget
explains
cuts.
A lot, doesn't it?
They couldn't afford to feed him anymore.
Yeah.
He was actually eating literal reams of paper to survive. Most of those were actually, funny enough, those were the documents on what they were going to do in the future.
Ah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And then he probably used the rest of it in his cage.
Yeah, well, it was already being shit on, so they didn't think anyone would notice.
Those experience scrolls, what were they called? The transcension scrolls or whatever?
I think there was the transgender scrolls.
Stop.
One of them was a man, and then the other day it was not. It was very confusing.
Hit him. Hit him. You're right there. You have to hit him. I think it's a rule.
I can't reach him.
She's got short, stubby arms like a T-Rex.
Throw something at him, man. God.
I can roll over him.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So you got it. That's
it for me.
Heartbreaking. But actually, hold on one sec. We actually have breaking news here. We interrupt this broadcast with breaking news. This is Dink Winkleton coming to you live from Elder Scrolls Online, where famed gladiator and MVP Orangus Julius is being pursued by the Imperial Guard after bodies of 2 individuals were found dead in his villa. They are in a slow-speed chase at the moment going down the main road from Cyrodiil. He's currently in a chariot being pulled by what looks to be a white Bronco. Yes, it is definitely a white Bronco. Sources close to the scene say he fled on foot before making it to his mighty steed. Reports indicate his last words before fleeing were, "I didn't do it, but if I did, look for my new book in a few years. And I'll tell you how I would have done it if I had." More news as it develops, and back to our regularly scheduled programming. Huh, well, hope they get the guy. It's a good thing he's innocent.
You're so bad.
What? That wasn't me. That was Dink Winkleton. That's our live on-air reporter from ESO.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you should see his...
Stop.
We were going to have other people on there.
Where
we
were
ran out
we
of time
now?
to write because of, again, everything else. So, who's up for a main topic? Ladies? Anyone?
Sure.
Let's go and see how horribly we can try to get me beaten. Encouraging spousal views live on radio.
I was looking for the soft foam dice to throw at him. I can't find.
I think it's in the other room, actually. Yeah. If Ike Turner here over here is done, we can move on. So, werewolves, vampires.
I love you.
Come on, baby, take me back, baby. Come on, please, baby, please,
Sorry,
baby.
see what I started?
Werewolves, vampires, and other specialty creatures. So that's what we're... A little bit of technical difficulties. We live in Oklahoma, and the entire state apparently is covered by these angry storms of Cthulhu. We lost power for just a moment there. Just long enough to kick us off of everything, but not long enough to keep us from getting back on the air and back live.
Good.
So, just one of them things. I apologize to anybody that was watching us live. Those of you listening to it on the podcast, I'll just splice it together. Funny enough, it happened almost right when we start our main topic. So, we'll just kind of kick it off from here. So, like I said, we were going on werewolves, vampires, and other specialty creatures, things like that, which the other ones usually are things either somebody makes up in a different way, or demons is another popular one as well. Someone plays, part demon or something like that, or Jazz has done like a succubus kind of thing as well, here and there. So, those kinds of things. So, sorry, I've totally lost my train of thought on this whole damn thing. It's come off the rails.
I think for me, one of the important things, I originally designed my character to not be what she was. I rolled her out to be a certain thing, and then I didn't want to play her because I was like, I don't usually play non-mortal characters. Mm-hmm. My husband called me a chicken and dared me to do it, so I did. And then I had to fit her into lore, which was a lot harder. Mm-hmm. Because D&D is not EQ, and while there are similarities, they are not the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's the trick.
Seriously.
non-mortal character that I think a lot of people screw up, in my opinion. Because, and people are like, you are the same way, da-da-da-da, your character isn't lore. And that wasn't true, because if you did quests in EQ, you learned that there are people on this, on EQ, in the world.
Okay. First, let me stop you. You're just beating around the bush. Just be honest. You're talking about people said that your character couldn't be psychic or telepathic, because no such thing existed in that world. They were utterly wrong. There are psionicists and things like that in that world.
That wasn't what they were saying.
That was one of them. I remember that was one complaint you had come to me. And that honestly, I don't know. Okay, I don't know what your other one was, but that one in particular was retarded. And I say that knowing that that's a horrible thing to say, but you know what? It was an accurate word, because there were literally Cthulhu-like creatures, or what are those? The mind flayers from D&D.
Yeah.
They literally had those in the game. And they would do a little psychic attack.
Yeah.
That was close enough to the sound.
But I mean, we also had in quests where people were telepathically communicating with one another from across great distances, not to mention mages and stuff like that. So that was not a stretch at all. No,
but it was still more something you got pinged for, which was ridiculous.
I got pinged for a lot of things because people resented.
Yeah, because you're a pain in the ass.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, because other reasons.
I am a bitch. I was trying to be nice.
That's why you're on the show. You fit right in.
I'm a bitch. I am an elitist in many ways, because I believe that you need to do your research before you make a character. I believe that if there is
that's a different kind of elitism, though. I gotta disagree with you. I would maybe a lore Nazi.
Okay. Yes,
lore Nazi,
that would probably be better.
But that's
lore
not
Nazi is much more accurate.
Elitism is you never shunned anybody that didn't shun you first.
No.
That would be elitism.
No. And I would tell them, this character won't fit into the guild because of X, Y, and Z. But, I'll roleplay with your character, and I'm not going to treat you badly, even though you are a 10,000-year-old vampire and they can't possibly exist. That's what you want to do. That's your business. But it doesn't fit into lore, therefore it can't be in the guild.
Yeah, kind of like those people I mentioned, those the servants of the temple. They are full-on doctrine of the tribunal of the Dunmer in Elder Scrolls. That's their thing. So if you try going into their guild as they literally have a test for vampires and werewolves. Before that alt I made, she had to be cut with a silver blade, and if there was a reaction to the blood, she wasn't, well, probably she'd have her skull bashed in right then and there.
Right.
But she would not be allowed to be part of the three, because that's completely against their doctrine to allow such a creature into their ranks. And you just have to understand that. Not every guild is for everybody, and not every character, especially when you play those specialty ones, like a vampire or a werewolf or anything that you were talking about. You have to respect the guild. It's not elitism. There's a reason the guild might be popular. It's because they stick to their guns and don't just cave in to anyone's demands.
But it's also important to, at least for me, I could not have had my character, Vakarina, if it had been lore-wise impossible for her to exist. I couldn't have done that. Now, some people can, but I couldn't have done it if I hadn't found something in lore that said, yes, this world is actually a portal to the outside world, and magically draws people in. Yeah, the void is like everywhere around it, and it has got portals everywhere.
It's a dimensional trap. Yeah, it's the in Marvel terms, it's the gateway to the multiverse. It's the sliders portals that you see in that old crappy television show.
Yeah, everything is pulled to there, and so because my character's original story, not that most people were aware of it, that they were originally a long time ago when they were first brought to NORAD, were actually going from point A to point B and got sucked in there without intending to go there, and then couldn't leave. So it made sense. It fit.
Yeah, and that leads into the thing with like werewolves and vampires. That that was part of your character's background, and it wasn't something that was necessary. It was something that fueled them, and it was something that, like how you grow up with your parents and how they shape and mold you. You don't go talking about it to everybody about, how good or bad your parents were all the time. That's just, It's a part of you. So same thing with being a werewolf or a vampire. You don't have to be going around and being like, you know, blah, 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 you know.
I am the evil vampire. I will suck your blood.
Yeah, and you know, in that kind of, you know, in werewolves, you know, you don't have to go humping your chew toys all over the middle of the friggin' tavern every day. We get it. You're a werewolf. We know. Now put Scruffy down. But
they're so funny.
Yeah.
But like in Guild Wars, there wasn't any.
Yeah,
and
Final Fantasy.
Some games,
Final Fantasy
there
does
are
not
no
have
vampires.
them.
There are no werewolves. It's just simply not done.
Or Final Fantasy 14. Technically, Vincent from Final Fantasy 7 was kind of a vampire, but
yes, that's
he doesn't
true,
exist in Final Fantasy 14. So,
right.
No.
So in that sense, I couldn't have played my character in Final Fantasy, for example, because there's no way for her to have gotten there in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and
so I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things we have on here is, and it's like the third thing we have, but it's literally the fourth, or the fourth. They both start with F. It's close enough. Get off my back. I've had a weird day. Follow the damn lore of whatever game. The vampires in Elder Scrolls are not the same as the vampires in EverQuest, and the ones in EverQuest aren't the same, and the werewolves in EverQuest aren't the same as those that were in Rift. And you need to know the lore for the spectral creature or night spawn or whatever game you're in.
Age of Conan, both vampires and werewolves are mindless.
Yeah, they're basically just beasts.
Yeah, so if you want to come and play a werewolf, I suppose you can, but you can't sit there and be accepted by more people like me.
You're not going to have enough control to hump little Scruffy in the middle of the tavern. You're just going to basically tear Scruffy's head off and then try to kill everyone around you.
Right. You know, that is, I think, the point that a lot of people miss that I'm making is when I'm telling people, they're like, you have this super fantastic character, but you're saying I can't be a 10,000-year-old vampire. I'm like, because... Mm-hmm. There are no vampires that can be that old.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And I've done that too. I like some of my characters, Xanis, he wasn't any of those things because nothing against werewolf and vampire players. I just find it excessively boring. I mean, I understand I'm personally more of a vampire fan than werewolves. I've never really understood the werewolf thing personally. It's just not my bag, you know, and it can be your bag. That's cool, dude, whatever. You know, float your tail, wags your tail. Yeah, wags your tail. We'll go with that. But it's just never been my thing. I you know, with Xanis, I did have him as he had found other ways to prolong his life, you know, and I used things like the Phoenix, because that's one of my favorite characters in X-Men, but it wasn't a Phoenix Force. I just happened to enjoy the lore of a Phoenix itself, the death and rebirth, and
there was one.
Yeah. There was technically, and there were a few...
in EQ1. I don't think there were...
There weren't any in EverQuest 2, except for on the Monk line, there was actually a skill or two that had the word Phoenix in it, which...
The word existed.
The word exists. That means the lore somewhere has to be, even if they've never touched on it. And that was... But again, it wasn't always a huge predominant, like, you know, until much, much later in the life. And at that point, I was around my group of friends. And that's the other thing. If you're going to do that, you got to do it around a group of people that are willing to accept you as that, because as with all roleplay, if the people around you aren't buying it, ain't nobody gonna buy it, brother. Ain't nobody gonna
buy it. I didn't discuss what my characters were, and if somebody said something like Tabaka, that she was some kind of a demoness, she would just smile and say, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, your character is lying. Well, yeah. She's elf, or looks like one anyway.
Wait a minute. Are you that assassin from that series of video games known as Assassin's Creed? No. Why do you ask? Well, the white rose was kind of what gave it away, but... And the knife in my chest.
Yeah. So, I think the line for a lot of people that I think a lot of people didn't grasp was that I didn't care if your character didn't believe that my character was X, Y, or Z, but she played as if she was immortal anyway. She didn't tell people that she wasn't. Mm-hmm. It was just something you learned if you were around her long enough, that something wasn't quite right about their family line.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, like with vampires, at least in places, in worlds where they are able to actually hide to use the Witcher frame, the high vampires, to use Witcher terminology, that looked human, could pass for human. Maybe they didn't go sunbathing very often, but it's a fantasy world. Who cares?
But, Masquerade, which is obviously borrowed from White Wolf, but a lot of people use that.
But if you can pass for that, that's all well and good. You just go along with that. But it's one of those things where, too, when you do reveal yourself, you have to you know your audience. With werewolves, it's a little different because they can hulk out. If they're like, I'm so angry, I got a tail.
You're always going to have people who won't believe it or won't go along with it, and you just have to roll with it because that's the cost you pay for playing a supernatural character. It never really bothered me. What bothered me was when people attacked me for insisting on lore over my character, saying, well, you have this, so I should be able to do this, when they were not quite the same thing.
Yeah. A doesn't equal B, doesn't equal C, doesn't equal, PewDiePie, who's a terrible person. Completely unrelated. I just think he's an idiot. So, but yeah, like I was saying, so you have to follow your lore, when it comes to vampires, werewolves, half demons, demon halflings, which, let's be honest, all halflings are actually demons. You've got to follow that lore, know the people you're around, and as you were just saying, if somebody doesn't buy it, and there's two different kinds of not buying it. So there's the in-character version, which is perfectly acceptable. Just because you are this thing doesn't mean the people in character around you have to believe you or even take it seriously, because they could just think you're a raving lunatic, which is perfectly acceptable.
Yes, it is.
And then there's the other kind, which out of character just attack you for it, which and that can actually go both ways, because they could have a legitimate complaint, as in what you were saying, I'm a 10,000-year-old vampire. Okay, well, you're not, because lore-wise that hasn't even existed for that long. The disease of vampirism hasn't been around for that long in that particular game. So you actually can't. That's not so much, that's out of character telling somebody, trying to inform them of lore, which is perfectly acceptable. Those temple people, I'm going to bring them up a lot because I've had a lot of interaction with them this last week, because I've been trying to relearn and reintegrate, and I've been bouncing things off of them, and there's been a lot of stuff where I'm like, okay, so would this work? And they're like, yeah, because they know I'm going to them for a reason, and it's not to get it's not really to get their blessing, it's to use their knowledge, of which they've been playing for the last 3 years. Not all of them, but many of them have been playing in the guild for at least a year or several months, so they're much more acclimated, and that lore is fresh in their minds, and they know it inside and out, like I used to with EverQuest, or how I do with a lot of Star Wars stuff. So that's what we've said before. If you know somebody and they're perfectly willing to help bounce ideas and go back and forth on the lore, use that person. There's no shame in admitting you don't know something.
Oh yeah,
there is
and I do that a lot right
now. In pretending you do and sounding like a complete jackass.
Right.
Don't do
because
that.
When I had to build my werewolf, I had to build her story. I had to bounce it off people who've been playing this game a long time, because I didn't know culturally how things work. So it required me to go to people who did know and say, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Would this work? How about this? Until I finally got something that would work. And there's no shame in that. It's important to do that, in my opinion, so that you get something that is usable and that a large majority of people are going to accept, both IC and OC.
Yeah.
So we've been rambling on back and forth. You got anything to slip in here, Sib?
No, I haven't really ever played a vampire or a werewolf in any of the games I've played. So I was sitting here trying to think if I've ever played a character that's different. But most of mine I just kind of stick to.
You play pretty Jane, Mary Jane type of character.
And I think that's just because I'm not comfortable with, there are so many different lores when you get into these supernatural characters.
Let me ask you this then. So as somebody that really doesn't play that stuff, when somebody comes at you with that, how do you tend to, what do you do with them yourself?
because I don't know a lot of the lores in the games concerning those, playing the werewolves or vampires, I try to be open-minded. I don't, of course, with any role play, I'm open-minded and I try to, unless it gets to a point where I can see they're trolling or, they're just, trying to be goofy.
As happens to you a lot, trying to just get in your pants.
Yeah. But I try to be open-minded and, if that's what they want to play, more power to them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we do this so we can enjoy and be what we want to be in the game. So I don't want to be the person that takes it away from somebody. So I try to give them the benefit of the doubt and just play along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's perfectly acceptable as well, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with just kind of roll with the punches. At least, at the very least, give the person, let them give them the chance to see where it's going, and if it turns out that they end up being completely ridiculous, and that's the other, we'll go into that too, is another thing that tends to happen with some people, not everybody, but a lot of people that do these things, is they like it so much themselves that they tend to start to god mod it. Like, I'm the vampire, I'm the daywalker, I'm Blade, I'm the guy that owes the IRS a lot of money. Again, another Wesley Snipes reference for anybody that doesn't know. He got in a lot of trouble with the IRS, much like Nicolas Cage, which is why Nicolas Cage is the white Samuel L. Jackson and appears in everything, but with much less talent. So it's just, you just got to let them, at least give them the option to see where it goes. And
I have no problem.
And if they start to god mod, that's not just that. That's the conduit through which they're going to do the eventual god modding anyway. Because if someone's gonna god mod, they're gonna do it no matter what they're playing. But it does tend again.
No, you're not wrong. It tends to happen more with
don't write us any angry letters. Or in fact, you know what? Go ahead and write us angry letters. I don't mind. If you play a werewolf or a vampire, a lot of the people that play what you do, god mod. And I hate to say that. And not all of them. We've actually know at least one of each of those two player bases that are excellent at it.
Yes.
Both the werewolf, actually, would it be? Yeah, both the werewolf and the vampire. We've known two very great players. We've known a lot, but two of them are actual personal friends of ours now through the games, and they've done an excellent job.
Shout out. You got to say your name.
God, I just don't like them enough to give them the shout out.
Oh.
It's
Greiger
and Tilder, yes.
And Tilder. There you go.
From EverQuest 2. I don't know that are either of them even playing anything at the moment.
I don't think either one of them are playing.
I think they've both kind of shuffled off with real life stuff, which happens.
Yeah.
Which is a shame too, because they actually were excellent role players, and the role play community as a whole is lessened for the lack of them. But real life does come first, blah, blah, blah. I've got a family. I have to feed them, blah, whatever. I get it. I love my family. God, I can't wait till ours move out. Anyway.
Yeah, right.
So, let's see. Where are we on this thing? So we hit God modding. Another version 2, of course, is anything with special powers. Be that, I call them X-Men mutant stuff. Regeneration, psychic abilities, be that telepathic, telekinesis, pyrokinesis, any of the wonderful kinesises, of course, of the clan kinesis.
Yeah. If you can back it up in a magical world, I don't think
kinesis.
I don't think it's special powers in a super magical world, but there's still a line. Mm-hmm. And it's important to know where the lore stands when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a line and more in knowing the lore, and also one of the most important thing for these types of characters, give them a damn weakness. You cannot be the super edgelord Goku Super Saiyan 47. Sorry, you're a boring. If your character does not have flaws and weaknesses, I'm just gonna say this: your character is boring. They have got to have, whether it be physical and preferably mental too, that they struggle with things, just like everybody does. All
the best characters. That's true. especially if you have it's almost more important if you have a powerful character to write something in. One of my oldest and most powerful characters was Toyana, and she was batshit crazy. So it was important to give people.
Yeah, it took a mental toll. That much power. It took a mental.
She was ancient, and the older she
X-Men.
got, the more crazy she got. And
yeah.
I think that that's true. If you have any, like I had a friend of mine that played in superheroes, but he said, the more powerful they are, the more flaws they're going to have. That's the only way to play so that they're not boring and they're not stupid and they don't annoy people.
Yeah, one of those too. I was going to say is going with the X-Men Legion, which was the son of Professor Xavier. He literally could rewrite reality with his mind. He could make reality what he wanted. He could time travel. He could, there's actually a show on FX right now based on that, and it is fucking weird. It is one of the weirdest damn shows. I finished watching it.
I can't get through the first first episode. I was like, I've seen some weird stuff, but I cannot do that.
And it is all connected to the X-Men universe that Fox has done for the most part. They even show a wheelchair with an X on it. Ooh, who could it possibly be? He was adopted. There's no telling. Professor X, obviously. Whether it's McAvoy or Stewart, we have no idea. But he is so powerful. He's just crazy. He can't tell, because he can shift reality. He can't tell reality anymore. It's a concept that's completely weird. And he accidentally went back in time and killed his own father, and that created the Age of Apocalypse. But that's in the comic books, and that's a whole nother nerd podcast you can get from someone else. But the point is, he was super powerful, but he had a massive flaw. And in this case, playing a character that crazy in an MMO is probably not going to get you very far, because a lot of people will just start to shun it. Like a lot of things. There's people that play the really weird and out there characters. Don't get offended when people don't take, it's fun in small doses, but it's hard to base a character brand new out of the gate on stuff like that. So if you're going to make them that strong, you've really got to work up to it.
If you've got a super powerful character, like mine, had a lot of what I would consider to be almost godlike powers, but they were very easy to kill. They just rebirthed. But it wasn't hard to kill them in the sense that they were just, they made blood a little faster. They were a little more
super
durable,
susceptible to certain, if I remember right, it was certain elements of cold or
Vodka.
heat.
Vodka was a fire, so ice could take her right out of the game. And that was always really funny too. Like, remember one time, and I know you about fell out of your chair. I know this was really funny. We were out, we were role playing, but we were leveling. We were all together. I think we were raiding actually. And Azag warded Vodka with an ice ring. Remember those? Because the wizards could do that.
Oh yeah,
that ice ring around you.
That chunk.
Yeah,
thing that looked like
and I sent him
really shitty SG-1 portal.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. And I sent a thing over the raid, and I was like, "Please tell me that wasn't icy." And he was like, "Yeah, it is." And I was like, "Well, I'll have to switch characters."
Yeah.
That took her out.
/E. Flops on the ground, twitching and drooling and muttering obscenities about Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was important, at least for the people that I played with, because I think it made them feel less godlike, because they did get hurt and they did really almost die.
All they had to do was throw a glass of cold iced tea on you and you're down for the count.
That was a second-degree burn. Yeah, it was a serious weakness.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, if you're going to do those things, you've got to, what do I have on here? You could, that's okay. We're going to go into another aspect of doing these certain characters. Just because you can be like, I'm going to threaten you by extending my canines. I'm a vampire, blah, 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 doesn't mean you should. It's really cool and it's really awesome in a book, but that's a controlled environment too. And once you let that cat out of the bag in an MMO, it's like fucking high school. Hey, did you hear so-and-so has fangs? It's done. You've got to pick your moments. If you're going to, don't waste it on certain things. Because once it's out there, it's out there. You can't put it back in the bag. So just because you shoot lightning bolts like Raiden from Mortal Kombat, or that really other Raiden from Big Trouble in Little China, who is freaking awesome. I love that movie. Way better power than the guy that just makes himself fat. Just gonna say that. I don't know what the deal with. I'm gonna blow myself up. Okay, well, there's one bad guy down. But
that was David Lopan in Big Trouble in Little China.
No, that was David Lopan was the little creepy old guy that went. Yeah, he went from. The one that it was one of his 3 bodyguards. He was the boss. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
The guy that made himself explode was one of the mini bosses.
But he was Thunder, not Raiden.
Well, the Raiden guy was the Thunder Lightning guy, and then there was
getting off topic. I'm sorry.
Well, no, this is important stuff here because so there's David Lopan, who could both go to the crazy old guy and then the creepy old guy with the white face and the funny hat. And
okay,
he had his 3 bodyguards, which was the Raiden. I swear to it had to be Raiden. That was clearly based on Raiden. He had the hat. He was Raiden before Raiden was Raiden. And then there was the guy that swelled up.
He was Thunder. Yeah. Yeah. And then they had Rain.
And the other guy was just really good with combat stuff. He was actually
He was Rain.
He got
They were the elements, honey, or the Rain, thunder, and lightning.
Yeah. Well, he still got killed to Jack Button. Who's Jack Button? I am. By just catching
it. Button?
Jack Button.
Burton.
That's my shitty Chinese accent. You want me to do the real Chinese accent? I can do that.
No.
But no. So anyway.
Equal opportunity insulter.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm an equal.
Nobody's safe. Nobody.
I think it was my own father, and I quote, "Mike, you're kind of an equal opportunity offender, aren't you?" Thanks, Dad. I am. By the way, you owe me back pay for my what's that thing where parents pay you?
Allowance.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I was going to say blood money, but sure, go with allowance. So anyway, just because you can do the lightning bolt thing and threaten somebody or do something with your special abilities or something like that doesn't mean you always should. I mean, it's kind of cool. Or if you're in one of those like brag offs with somebody else, you know what? Sure, just go balls to the wall. Just, flip the dagger over the hand and do the Riddick thing, or shoot lightning up their ass, whatever.
But don't be surprised if they do it right back to you,
right?
Because it is RP and you have no control over the other character,
or
the other person's character.
So when you start doing that stuff, and also then cat's out of the bag, that could have been used awesomely in combat. Okay, I'm gonna give an example. I did that once in Star Wars: The Old Republic. My character was a Sith, and they were fighting. It was a roleplay fight, and I'm only saying this because I know I got comments on it afterward that were thought it was pretty cool. So I'm gonna go with that. It was cool, but character got sliced, and he was a Sith Lord, and what he did was he put his hand into the wound, and I had it planned out. It just came to me, and he splattered the blood from between him and the opponent, and the guy. That was basically what looked like a wasted turn. So then the guy, of course, charged at him with his lightsaber, and my turn came up, and he slapped his hand and channeled the dark side of the Force and threw elemental dark side lightning into it, and then through the connection with the blood, shot all the bolts of lightning straight up from all the droplets of blood between him and the other guy, who was, of course, now in the middle of that blood trail, and just fried the crap out of him.
Nice.
That was a good time to use that ability because it meant something. Not like, hey, you want to see something neat? I know we're in a diner, but watch this. I'm going to cut myself with a salad fork, and I mean, come on. We're in role play because there's a certain amount of, we love story, we love character development, and on top of all that little cherry, we love showmanship. We love to show off. We love to try it. It's role play is at its core it's like that lip syncing combat, or that lip sync show where the two like celebrities lip sync each other back and forth in like, a duel. It's basically a writing duel. You're literally trying to one up the other person in terms of writing and ideas and originality. And that's what that's all about, you know, and that's why some people love to play these werewolf and vampire characters, just because it gives them kind of an edge on that, or it's just something they're a huge fan of. You know, it's just, you know, like furries. That's why people play those Khajiits.
Oh my.
What? I'm just saying there's a connection. Now. There's a connection. I actually literally can't stop. This is a podcast. It's a talk show. We're supposed to talk. If I didn't talk, it would sound like this. See? That's terrible. It's not even fun.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, you just have to have just logic these things out. You know, if your character is a vampire, your character's a werewolf, your character's you know, what Vacarina or I had or anybody else has, or you're part demon, you've, for one, be within the lore, and second, on top of that, why know why you want to do it, and moreover, even more important than why you want to play that, why is your character like that? Because if you can't explain it other than just because, you're failing to tell the story. There has to be a story behind almost everything you do. Just like everything you do in real life, there's a reason you're acting like that. There's a reason I'm doing this show with you two. It's because we love roleplay. We thought we could do it. Turns out, I mean, that's still up in the air. I guess. I don't know. We're getting more in people, which if you would like to spread the word, go ahead, like, share, and comment. YouTube terminology. But you just have to, you have to be ready. Just get out there and do it, and you know, you gotta develop that idea. Just make that make sense. Not just for you, but for those around you, if it ever comes up, and if it doesn't,
yeah, that's
know
a very
you have
important
it.
point.
Yeah,
because roleplay isn't just about you. When you're role playing and no one else is around, like if you're in a game that is a single player and you're role playing your character in your own head, and that's one thing. But when you're role playing in a community, it's not just about you. It's not just about what you think is fun. If what you think is fun affects the community to the point that people don't want to play, then that's bad. So always keep in mind.
Or if they don't want to play with you, because that hurts.
Right.
One, it's a negative impact on them, and it's going to be a negative impact on you, because the more people kind of start to drift away from you, or because you're not really thinking things through. And given this happens over a period of time, it's not like, well, this guy 13 seconds later, this guy clearly has no idea what the hell he's doing. /block.
Yeah, I think most role players are very patient.
Yeah,
they are. And we'll let somebody go quite a while before they're like, okay, dude, no.
We'll give you enough rope to hang yourself with.
Yeah,
and that rope might be a mile long, but eventually, nobody wants to be the asshole. Nope. I mean, okay, very few people want to be the asshole. To be an asshole. Yeah, and also as a guild leader who has done the roleplay thing and who has run a roleplay guild, I do want to point out that every game doesn't always have enough lore to cover what people want to roleplay. And ain't that the truth?
You know, and so a lot of times you have to rely on other sources of lore, and picking and choosing what that is hard enough, but doing it in a community setting so that you don't alienate one person or another. For example, in EQ, there wasn't a whole lot of werewolf lore at all. They were just kind of there, and there was no real explanation. There was a couple quests, and we kind of based everything off of that. So a lot of times
the vampire lore, which was rich, and one of the main villains of the game was Mayong Mistmore, Mayonnaise Mistmore.
Yeah, there
who
was
had been around since EverQuest 1, and even before that, the EverQuest Adventures, PlayStation 2 exclusive.
Yeah, so I mean, there was a lot of stuff to pull out for vampires, but there were some blank areas, and so after a lot of thought and such, we decided to use a little bit of White Wolf to kind of fill in the blanks and to let people know that this is what we do in this situation to explain this. And in werewolf lore, again, I usually gave people a choice because I would say, if you want to do this part of werewolf lore, then you need to be human and you need to be X, Y, and Z because you're using this lore. And this lore makes these statements, so you can stick with this. if you want to have it be like hereditary and all this other stuff, then you can choose this lore and run by this.
I can't help that I was born like this, Jazz. I was born with a werewolf spirit and actually literally physically a werewolf.
Hey, that's actually a line of roleplay.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. But in in a game like EverQuest 2 as well, and actually probably a lot of others, I would assume, there's actually funny enough, there's a book series called Lichen Fallout by Mark Tufo, who it's a continuation of his zombie Fallout series. Which, if you've never read anything from Mark Tufo, fucking read it. The man is hilarious, and his books are actually pretty deep and thoughtful. But he had Lichen Fallout, and one of the things he had there were the Lichen, which they weren't werewolves. They were Lichen. They were born that way. That was their pack. They hunted humans, and then there was what they could turn others into, the humans, which were werewolves, which actually they saw as abominations and almost despised anybody that allowed such a thing to happen. But through the storyline, there was a reason that all that stuff happened, which I won't spoil. But a lot of things there is that lore. But in some lore, it's the same damn thing. It doesn't matter. A Lichen is a werewolf is a Lichen. It's just an interchangeable work. And not everywhere.
In a lot of lore, there's a line between being born a werewolf and being turned.
Right.
A lot of lore does that, not just
and then in others, typically this one hits more movies because it's as a video game.
Then in movies, there's no difference at all.
In movies, werewolf, it's just a virus kind of a thing. But then again, some would do that with vampires. But video games, that kind of gets boring. It'd be at that point it would be a plague that would destroy the world. So they typically don't do that because it doesn't make for a very good MMO when everyone's already dead or a werewolf.
Right. Exactly.
Apparently, that's not a great line of storytelling. So next from
but it does require
Lichen everything.
It does require that you read and know a little bit about what you want to do so that you can, or like one of the things that recently that I ran into was a gentleman who was playing a Lichen who was extremely open with his affections, and was playing a Lichen as if that was normal. And I had to explain to him
someone's been watching too much True Blood.
Yeah, it was like, actually, werewolves are wolves, and they pattern after this idea, at least in many lore systems, that they are a one-man, one-woman kind of thing. Now, not all of them, like in ESO, that doesn't exist. So you can tell that they're just kind of these free spirits that go around. But in EQ, that wasn't the case, and it's important to have that conversation and say, okay, which lore base are you using, or are you just doing this so you can get as much tail as possible? And that's okay. I just want to know which one it is. Yes. I just want to know which one it is. That's all. So if you want to play a heroic, what I like to call them heroic characters instead of non-normal, but non-mortal. But
I call them special. What do we call them in this? Specialty characters.
Specialty. Yeah, they're also that. Heroic or specialty characters. If you want to do that,
Jazz, we're all heroic at heart.
Anyway, if you want to do that, if you really want to do that, read, learn, look into it, know your character and what you want to accomplish. And then you won't, even if somebody doesn't believe in your character, you can still have fun with your role play, and it can go in the proper direction so that you have fun and so does everybody else.
Yeah, and it doesn't, and it's one of those things we touched on earlier too. It doesn't have to be the forefront of everything you do,
No.
I work for the post office. Guess what? The first words out of my mouth aren't every single time I meet anybody, It's just something I do or something I am. I'm a postal worker. But just like that, you're a vampire or werewolf. If the situation you're in, you're at a party,
you're probably not going to mention
talk about the weather. That's not the first thing you need to bring up. It's okay to just have that be it's a back burner issue, really. It's something that exists. It's something that's there, but it doesn't have to be the forefront of everything you do. Your character's personality, life experiences, things like that are far more important than the fact of all these other things, and
remember, in some lore bases, knowing you are a werewolf will get you killed.
Yeah, or a vampire, or
a vampire,
or a freak of nature, or
like in EQ, it wasn't as big of a deal anymore because we had the free bloods and
they were literally a race.
Yeah, so they really screwed up their lore on that one. Don't get me started. Don't start. Let's just not even go to the
we don't. Unfortunately, for those listening, we don't have the time for her to go on her tirade about that.
No.
So don't worry, I'm not going to bring it up.
Don't get me started. But wow,
free bloods.
Okay.
Our blood is free. Bad. Let us go.
Stop. Okay, I don't want to go down that road. Okay, so I might obsess a little bit about
play free
like
blood.
Don't make
action. Come on.
So it's important to know where the world stands. Like in ESO, some people will just kill you if they know what you are.
Yeah,
you can't come out and say I'm a werewolf.
The temple people, they would. I'm pretty sure if somebody came out, like one of your characters, if you ever meet them, I'm pretty sure if they found out what any of the other people were, it would probably devolve into a fight right then and there.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
Right, which I know you would be, but then again, you're also not going to be like, and by the way, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I'm a werewolf. Just so you know.
Yeah, she doesn't tell anyone that. Yeah. So because she's aware that
actually out of character, I know, and I even think I only found that out when you went to that werewolf meeting thing. But in character, I definitely know I don't know.
Yeah. She doesn't tell anyone or act that way. She doesn't act like a werewolf in front of anyone. The most she'll ever say is that she hunts people, but that could just as
she's a Bosmer too. Let's be honest. She's already filthy and dirty.
She's a Bosmer, and she doesn't tell anybody she's an assassin either, but she hints at that more than she does werewolf. So, it's important to know how the culture is going to take your specialness. So that's
speciality.
And it's a good thing to be open-minded. You know, when you approach somebody and say, I'm a werewolf, and you don't have something quite right in the lore, then be open-minded. And, if you have to change your character a little, it doesn't hurt.
Well, that's like when I was told I was RPing that my character doesn't speak common tongue. And I didn't understand that the common tongue is Alien / Altmer.
Yeah,
And
I
didn't know that. So once I found that out, I switched things a little bit and changed her learning curve to go a little faster because Dunmary and Altmer are related but not exact. So it would be hard, kind of like Portuguese versus Spanish.
Right.
Is like melting your brain to try to make that connection. But they're very similar, really. They're related.
Yeah.
So once I did that, then I could change it. But, I didn't get mad when somebody told me that.
Yeah, or was it Chinese and Mandarin or whatever those two Chinese languages are that are... They're completely different, they're similarities, but one I only know this from watching the movies. One has a lot of sh's in it, and another one is a lot harsher.
Yeah,
much more Germanic, angry.
Like
it sounds
she
so
said,
angry.
if somebody comes to you and says, "Look, this is out of line with lore," say, "Okay, how is it outside of lore? Explain it to me." And once they explain it, I was like, "Oh, well, I can shift things so that makes a little more sense." Then I didn't realize that the common tongue wasn't like English; it's actually Altmary. Okay, well, there we go. I didn't know that.
I don't think even I knew that.
Yeah.
I'd heard somebody else call what the common tongue in Elder Scrolls was. I didn't put it together that would basically just be the Elven, high elf language.
Yeah, they're basically all languages other than the beast languages and the original Redguard, whatever they were called, Yakuden.
Yakuden.
They have their own language, but everything else is based on Alien. So they're all related distantly to each other.
Oh, well, I've learned something today.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Because when you're reading the stuff on the websites, they don't tell you that. I had to actually dig around to find it. But once I found it, it was there. I just didn't know to look.
Yeah, and that's, I'll be honest, I always enjoyed Elder Scrolls, but one of the things is it is insanely overwhelming to try to learn that lore in any any short period of time because there is so much.
I'm still learning. There's so much there.
You know,
I can't even absorb it all.
Quick ADD moment. I actually got curious. You know how you find the books in that game all over the place?
Mm-hmm.
2,600 plus. Between between the books that you find in cases, the notes, between characters that you find, all those little glowy things, 2,600 varies, and that's before the expansion comes out, which I'm sure we'll probably add another 500 plus to it.
It's involved
that
game.
is an insane number, and every single one of those was written
has been lore,
and it's wrote out. Somebody's wrote a story. Some of them aren't more than a page, or a paragraph or two, and some of them go on for like almost a chapter's worth of a book. It's insane, but it's also very cool. But it also and that's one of the things that makes the lore in that game difficult. We're getting a little off on tangent here, but it's a very cool aspect of that game and that series as a whole. Is that they put that much. I wish a lot more games would be like, and we have characters that glow like Tron, Pantheon. We don't know why yet. We just like the aesthetic.
Oh God!
And I don't mean to keep bashing on Pantheon. It just looks
easy.
like garbage to me. And after what was it McQuarrie said about role players, it's like I don't know how any role players are like, yeah, I'm still so excited for this. It's gonna be fantastic. Yeah, he thinks you're a giant douchebag, right? Like. He almost literally said you're just a waste of skin and not worth their time and effort to try to get to join their game.
Yep.
Now how much would you pay?
Yeah. But we probably need to tie it up.
We're going to need to wrap it up. So, all right. So that's pretty much where we're at on that. Just follow the lore, know your audience, know why you want to do that kind of thing.
Be open-minded.
Be open-minded.
And there is nothing wrong with playing a mortal character. So don't feel drawn to play a specialty character. It's not necessary to have fun. Mortals are very fun and actually harder probably to play in many ways than specialty characters.
And if you do play a specialty character, don't get all bent out of shape when someone's like, yeah, my character would probably try to kill you right now. Well, follow what your character would do and don't get upset at someone else because their character now wants you dead.
Yep.
So, and don't brush it off because they can't kill you. That's just being a douchebag and a god modder.
That is a whole different...
Right, I know.
Let's not go down that path either.
But it's one we will hit eventually here on RPMMORadio. So, I want to thank everybody. Apologize again for the power outage. Unfortunately, shit happens when it comes to weather. But you can hit us up at RPMMORadio on Facebook or at Twitch at RPMMORadio. All those various things at RPMMORadio.com is our website. If you want to join our Discord, feel free. We're more than happy. We chat. We got a couple people in there. We chat with them. They're fantastic people for the most part. I guess most of them are all right.
I like them all.
Yeah, kiss ass. If
They're all my favorites.
On iTunes, which I have seen seems to be everyone's favorite platform. Who would have thought Apple, something people like? I didn't.
Yeah.
But iTunes is actually, regardless of what you think of Apple, iTunes is actually pretty damn handy. And they are the only one of all the things that actually allows you to leave a comment and, like us and all that stuff. And if you do that, we would appreciate that. The more you do that stuff, the higher up on the search list for things we show up when people look up MMO podcasts and things like that. We actually do show up. If someone puts in MMO podcast, we do actually show up on that, which is good because that's what we are, just for roleplay, which most MMOs are like, wait, people do that? Oh my God.
I feel like Steve Martin in The Jerk all of a sudden. I'm somebody.
I'm somebody.
When he gets the phone book.
Yeah. Somebody hates these cans. Get away from the cans.
I'm showing my age
something
now.
No man should ever say. Always go near the cans.
Yeah.
Boob jokes. Anyway.
Oh, dear God.
What? I'm just saying. So.
Close us out.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody else for joining us. I am Ashley Phoenix,
thank you.
Jazz, Sib, and join us in 2 weeks' time. I'm not sure what we'll be talking about, but we'll hit something up. It'll likely be roleplay related. So join us next time when we will talk about Halflings. Why are all vampires actually just two halflings stacked on top of each other? I don't know.
God.
You don't know, but we'll talk about it. But probably not. Next time on RPMMO Radio. Thanks, everybody. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by RPMMO Radio are just that, and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great rock covers.